but then all of a sudden they go, listen, right now you're going in there for an interview. And they go, you do sound. Don't worry, we'll teach you. Because I go, I don't really do sound. I'm a visual. I'm a camera guy. I do have sound. I have a microphone and a camera. That's what I do. I go, okay, well, you're doing sound.
Ian, David, and Quinn started out to make a $50 million movie based on Ian's book, TJ's War. Mark, Sia, and Sincera soon jumped on board, and then Mr. Z joined the team, a mysterious executive producer who said, "Stop, this is no movie. This is a 2-season, 20-episode TV show. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series."
Hey there, welcome to another episode of We're Going to Make a $50 million TV series, the podcast where we document in real time the journey of transforming a 400-page World War II novel into a big budget.
500?
500. It gets bigger every week. I don't know. Are you adding more to it, Ian, that I'm not aware of? Yeah, closer to a 500-page novel. We're trying to sell the book too, Ian. So you want to cap it at some point. People don't want to read War and Peace every week. Right? We're pulling back the curtain on every step of the process, from screenplay development to creative collaborations to navigating the film industry. And we bring in expert guests to help guide us and our listeners through it all. This week, we are honored to welcome a true audio pioneer whose work has shaped some of the most iconic live and theatrical experiences of the last 4 decades. Lucas Rico, how do you say your last name? Corrubia?
Corrubia.
Corrubia. I kind of got it right.
Corrubia.
All right. Rico has spent spent more than 40 years crafting immersive audio experiences from legends, touring with the likes of, get ready for this list, Frank Sinatra, Liza Minnelli, Lauryn Hill, Eddie Van Halen, Christina Aguilera, working on Broadway productions, including Tommy with Pete Townsend and Andrew Lloyd Webber's musicals. He's the founder and former chief audio architect of Planet Roadie Enterprises. Currently serves as an audio creative development manager at Production Resource Group, while also consulting with MIT on cutting edge audio and holography.
Holographic.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay, holography technologies.
That's what I
Okay,
really wanted.
yes,
You
and
forgot one. You forgot one band, and they're the party band. Who am I talking about?
well, let me see. I couldn't even fit everybody in.
They live in a shack, the Love Shack.
Oh, the
really?
B-52s?
Yeah,
The
Wow.
B-52s.
I
I
had
know the
great
Love Shack people. Yeah, I bet you did. Any
Love
if you
Shack.
get to spend time in the Love Shack, I'm sure you had a great time. Well, I think that gets us started. Welcome to the show, Rico.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm glad we were put together.
Yeah, me too. Well,
You know,
you've said you've said somewhere that you ensure every show hits the mark sonically and emotionally. For you, what's the relationship between sound and storytelling? And how early in a film's development should creators start thinking about it?
I really think it's funny. I just got off the phone with someone who's asking me about that and telling me about that because they wanted me to do a speech on corporate, auto conferencing, and they said, audio is more important than the visual, and I won't say that. Well, and they you have to think about sound. You have to think about it right when you're thinking about the visual, um, because it let's face it, it can shape the emotion. It shapes the emotion just as much as the visual. It really does, if not more.
If
And
not more, I think.
if not more, let's face it,
Mm-hmm.
or orchestral parts. And like, I'm sorry, we were talking before about and I like saying the Albert Broccoli franchise, 007.
Right.
That's the Broccoli family, right?
Right. They
Which I think
just
is,
finally let go of control of it after all these
oh, they
decades. Yeah,
really,
because I don't know if it's Amazon. I can't remember which studio finally purchased it, but the
wow.
new Bond series is going to be under different
Oh,
production. Yeah,
okay.
they sold
But
it
I mean,
off.
look at all the and even with the latest Bond, all the different stars they had, from Billie Eilish to Chris Cornell. I mean, but everything just gave it such meaning. But let's face it, the original orchestral James Bond is indelibly marked in your brain, right?
The
The
dun dun dun
orchestral.
dun 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 dun.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yes. That's even in a B-52 song, okay?
Yeah.
And that's right there, okay? So I mean, that's why I love it, because it's
Yeah.
there. No, I mean, the music moves us. Music, we just feel, we
In
learn it.
in
It's the most important.
in a
It really is.
movie, it completely, it is the sound to me that determines your emotional state when you're watching a movie. Because I mean,
Yes.
you could put, well, I mean, I'm literally off the top of my head, like Apocalypse Now, the Stanley Kubrick film. The soundtrack. It puts your mind in a certain place when they're like flying the helicopters in.
Yeah.
Ian, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Ride of the
The scene,
Valkyries.
right? And there's something
That's
about that.
amazing. No, no. Well, to tell you the truth, that's the top five of movies for
Yeah.
me. I
Oh
love
wow.
that gentleman, and guys, I got the honor by accident in the squeezy little dim sum place, and my friend was actually working on. We talked about Romeo and Juliet, and he goes, "You know who's sitting next to you, like, and you're throwing food all over him? Is Francis Ford Coppola." I go, "Oh God." That was really, and we're like there. But oh God, I can say this. I put my foot in my mouth because I was then doing music of Angel Lloyd Webber, and the conductor was just finished a project with Francis Ford's father, who wrote all the music for The Godfather and all that stuff, right? Oh
Mhm.
God, Carmine Coppola. So
Hmm.
I said, "Hi, I'm here at Music Evangeline Weber, and I'm working with someone who worked with your father and on all those movies. It was fantastic." And he goes, "Thank you so much. You know, he just passed last week." And I go, "Oh God, can I put my foot in my mouth?" They didn't tell me that he passed away, right? But he was wonderful. It was just
Yeah.
wonderful to sit next to him. But getting back to what you were talking about, I watch that I have to listen and watch the beginning of that movie so much because let's face it was indelible on me. I was way up on the draft list. I was just sitting there waiting.
Of
Mm.
What's
course.
happening? I was in college, but Jim Morrison. This is the end with the helicopters
Yeah.
flying over. That's just I have to watch it every once in a while. Once a year at least, I have to watch that movie, the Redux version.
Yeah.
Because
So,
have you watched the Redux version? They added more. They added all the French settlers, and they had
Oh, really?
amazing
Yeah,
scenes that
yeah.
they added that explained so much more of what a pity we were there and how the French had lost and the reasons why. And it was amazing. But
so
no, but that music, you're absolutely right. The Valkyrie scene is just
it's
forget it.
incredible. Yeah. Well, so talk about that. Like when adapting, talk about the creative possibilities here. When adapting a historical war story like TJ's War, how can sound be used not just to recreate realism, not just explosions and stuff, but to enhance the mood, the tension, or the intimacy between characters? There's a love story here as well. So, you know, what are the creative possibilities with sound and how to tell that story?
Well, to me, it adds. I'm just thinking of the word. I'm feeling tactile texture. It has
Mm,
texture, like you're saying, Apocalypse Now. There's such texture to the other. I forget. It was like the first really really good synthesizer that he was using. The people making a great synthesizer. Synthesizers have been around, but Apocalypse Now, I'm forgetting someone telling me about. All those eerie kind of sounds that were coming out of the synthesizer to really create the fact that he was trying to create the fact that it was a surreal place. It was a
mm,
surreal war,
Yeah.
and that to me, that's what his music created. The
mm,
music created. It could have been done definitely like a regular good old World War II movie where it wouldn't create that spooky. Vietnam was a spooky, crazy third world country that
right.
was intensely Buddhist and just very, very different from America, right? And they were just cast in there. And I just feel that the pick of the music was amazing.
It was.
The Ride of the Valkyrie, to all the eerie keyboard synthesizer parts, that just
Yeah.
made you feel the eeriness, right?
Yeah,
Like you were there. I mean,
Well,
I had a lot of friends who went and just told me, and but Apocalypse Now, I really felt it, huh? I
yeah.
felt
yeah.
it.
What are some of the most overlooked aspects of sound design during pre-production or production? I think Ian, we've it's not that we've neglected, we've just been covering so many areas of this film production or this TV series production, sorry, that you know we have forgotten to even talk about
We
sound yet.
haven't
And
forgotten. I stick with
right, we
we
just hadn't gotten
absolutely
to
didn't
it yet.
forget about this, but it's you know when you go into something in the dark with a torch, you don't know what's in the room until you start to shine things around it, and then you realize there's all this
Good
stuff, and you keep
analogy.
finding.
Right.
It's not that we've forgotten anything; it's we're discovering all this, and
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what you're talking about there, Rico, with this. I remember very clearly the synthesizer bits in Apocalypse Now, just where they're on this boat going into the jungle, and they
Yes.
have to do it quite really silently in case they disturb the natives, which they do. Um, it really does in the cinema. I remember that very clearly, and there's it builds tension. It's telling you something,
Yes.
and you don't realize why the hairs in the back of your neck are sticking up.
Right, exactly.
It's
Very good.
phenomenal.
You
So
know?
I don't mean to interrupt, Mark, but I'm keen to know what is your where do you start? Where does your involvement start in these kinds of projects, and how do you go about this?
Well, to tell you the truth, when it comes to film, I I, I almost became a music supervisor. That's where it comes from. But the director and the producer are thinking about things. And now I'm jumping to a whole different genre, which is the neo-violent genre of Quentin Tarantino. But look at the
Mm,
music he used, and
yeah.
look at all of a sudden it's like my favorite '70s music, or it's very kitschy, just very different. Look at Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
Look at Reservoir Dogs, if you remember Reservoir Dogs, and
Yeah.
the scenes in that, and the very like light '70s songs while somebody's being ripped apart. It's just that kind of
Um,
juxtaposition, of,
yes.
of sound and the visual was quite amazing. Um,
Yeah.
so and it so at some point I really wanted to like leave live music and do music supervision, and that almost happened, but I always just get asked to do another great tour, and I go, I got to do this because we're the great artists. No, and it's really happened like two or three times where I go, no, I'm going to go into film and be a music supervisor because it's so intense and meaningful. And then, oh, they're going on tour. You want me to do? Okay, I'll do that. And for a long period of time, and let's face it, he has an amazing career. I worked for uh it was basically I was the concert engineer because of my beginnings for Music of Andrew Lloyd Webber. So it was the best of the KTEL hits of all his plays, starting in '89 is when I got that phone call. And then you really become everything from Jesus Christ Superstar we did to Sunset Boulevard. I mean, and I just saw it again here in New York. They did an
Mm.
incredible production of it, based with a lot of video, right? More a modern way of looking at it production wise. But I mean, still that music, that old Hollywood music that Andrew did. I mean, it was nice to work with him because of the different styles he used, and Phantom of the Opera, and I ended up being his sound man for 20 years. Michael Crawford, do you remember that
oh
name?
yeah, Michael Crawford. Yeah,
Yeah. So for 20
I
years.
saw Phantom on Broadway probably in 2006 ish, 2007 ish.
Uh-huh.
Were you
Oh,
doing things back then?
well, no, I was just touring with Michael. We'd always We'd
Oh,
end
okay.
up touring, and because of him being so famous with Some Mothers Do Have Them, if you recall that, if you
Yeah,
guys are old enough for that. Well, I never saw it, but so we'd always spend like the summer tour at wineries in Australia, New Zealand. I just loved it, and we
Mm.
just kept doing. About around that time, I was still doing that each
Oh,
year with
okay.
him. I
Okay.
was I was always asked to mix Phantom on Broadway, but I guess because I did the concert tour, I just loved mixing all the music from all the shows.
Yeah.
Uh,
Michael
oh,
Crawford
and
was massive.
yes.
He danced with Gene Kelly at one point, way back at the beginning of
Oh,
his
we did.
career.
Really?
He
I
tells
didn't
that.
know
I
that.
remember him telling that story on Parkinson, which you may have seen. But he said that it was one of his first things he did, and Gene Kelly came up to him and said something like, "I think you're an idiot, but my wife really likes you," or something like that.
Well, it's just so funny that he was picked for such this romantic part, and that macabre character of Phantom, when he after that Andrew found him, and from Some Others Do Have Them. I
Yeah,
mean, that's kind
Mm.
of
but he had a lot of
ironic, but
backstory before that, so he was a great dancer, I
yes.
think. So he could do a lot
No,
of
and he
stuff.
put a lot of
Really
the
talented
he
man.
was he was the Phantom. He would walk around to get ready even for a concert tours, and he was the Phantom, man. It was great. It was great.
Wow.
So
I
yeah, so I get that. So really theatrically, and the way music and acting work together, it's like film, of
Yeah,
course.
I completely agree. In fact, forget forget film. I mean, or TV. Your expertise is theatrical
Yes.
and stage.
Yeah.
So it's the same question. It's the same
yeah.
question. How do you get involved in this, and what? How do you go about your work? Tell us about that.
Well, you mentioned the word holography. Well, I thought
I tried to. I couldn't
holography
pronounce
back
it.
in the 70s. Well, holography was I was in the visual because there was a lot of cool visual art going on, like the original light show at the Fillmore East and West, the Joshua Light Show. That
Hmm.
inspired me, and so I got in the visual. But then I wanted to take it a step further, and then someone showed me a real hologram, not the holograms that we see now. They're basically stolen from Pepper's Ghost, which was during Shakespeare's time. Seriously, but that's what they really are. A real hologram is so hard to make the life size one. The Pepper's Ghost is a mirror at a 45-degree angle, and they shine lights at the object, and it reflected off the mirror, and so it looked like it was floating in space in 3 dimensional, right? But holography is such a science, and it's still 10 years away. I hope I see
Mm.
it before, it's 10 years away from really, because I'm still doing my fellowship at MIT in spatial audio, but there's guys down the block working on the way to make a real let's say you've seen Star Trek, the holodeck, to make the
Right.
holodeck, which is what I
To make a
wanted to
real.
do
Yeah.
in the 70s, right? And it's about 10 years away. It's going to happen.
Well,
And
this.
so now, okay. So then all of a sudden, I just kept moving around, getting gigs, and I wanted to go back to school. Um, really work. I was working with children on some summer job, and I wanted to get certified in doing artwork with children with disabled kids in DC. And somebody told me about casino gambling opening up in Atlantic City, which I'm from Jersey, and they go, listen, we're all down here, and they were from film school and everything else. We can get you a gig. Come drive. So I actually just loaded up the U-Haul from Washington D.C. and I just took off for the summer. I go, this is great. So I went down there, and it was quite a scene. But then all of a sudden they go, listen, right now you're going in there for an interview. And they go, you do sound. Don't worry, we'll teach you. Because I go, I don't really do sound. I'm a visual. I'm a camera guy. I do have sound. I have a microphone and a camera. That's what I do. I go, okay, well, you're doing sound. So I get the gig, and for that whole summer, I'm doing lounge acts. And then the next casino needed a lead sound engineer, and everybody put my name in. But I have to say, certain people who ended up being, let's say the guy who was, excuse me, we mentioned Frank Sinatra. Sinatra's engineer for his whole life after I was doing my little bit with him. And then he went on to Tony Bennett. He said, "I'll teach you sound." So in the late night lounges, we were doing all the little lounge acts, the lounge lizard acts of the
Yeah.
evening. And
Wow.
he was teaching me. So we go to the Gold Nugget, and all of a sudden we were doing really like we weren't doing star entertainment like the rest of the places. Then all of a sudden, Steve Wynn comes in and goes, "We got to get the theater ready because I just signed a contract with Frank Sinatra." What? So, and I go, "Well, I'm the house sound guy." So we had so much work to do, and we did it. But I'm shortening the story. He had a sound engineer come in, and the sound company came in, which I fell in love with. They were friends of mine. They all were. They were schooled. Like the guy who owned that started that company. Started with Sinatra back in the old. Remember the real Ocean's 11 at the Sands?
Yeah,
Do you remember
the
recall
original.
that whole the original?
I don't remember it, but I've seen it.
No, no, yeah, right.
It
It
was
was,
before I was alive. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I was real little youngster doing that. But
Yeah,
and I have a funny
Dean
story about.
Martin. Yeah.
Oh
The-
yeah,
yeah.
no, no, and then basically what happened was his agent became Michael Crawford's agent. So the stories I heard
Mm.
about Dean, even though the Sinatra stories I have, but then to hear the stories from before my time were just amazing between Frank and Dino. Forget he lived for Dean Martin. He
Yes.
Well,
lived for that was his best friend.
yeah.
Dean was so cool, and some quite interesting stories about the three of them together, Sammy Davis and them. And well, I don't
Yeah.
know if I could. I guess I could tell the story because yeah, there's something happened. I'm just saying something happened where Mort had to actually, that was the manager, had to get them all out of the country because someone was suing them for assault and battery because they went to eat at a restaurant. And this guy was really rude to Sammy. And he flew them to three different parts of the world. And this was a big thing when I was like in high school. We were reading that Sinatra was hooked up with blah, 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 because they couldn't find them. And because this guy, they were going to go to jail and everything
Yeah.
and there was a certain way that they had it handled, and they all came back to the country. I don't know if I could tell you the whole story, but it's
Well, I mean,
it's kind of
they could
hysterical.
never get away with stuff that they got away with back then these
Yeah.
days. I mean, just this past week, some CEO of some company I've never heard of is like a viral.
Oh, yeah.
All he's doing is hugging somebody at a Coldplay concert, and now
Oh, that thing.
yeah, and he's fired. I'm just saying, like with the way that there's a camera everywhere you go now, there's no privacy anymore. There's no getting away with stuff like Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy did back in the day.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
N-
The,
no,
let me pull us back on track though, because you mentioned two
I'm sorry.
things. No, no, but I mean tangents are fine
I'm
here.
loving
Trust
all
me.
this. This is great.
Yeah, but you mentioned two things that actually really tie into a question I wanted to ask, because you were talking about the holograms, and then you're talking about sort of like analog soundboards with Sinatra. You've worked with those analog soundboards, and now you consult with MIT on cutting edge tech. How has the evolution of audio tools changed the way stories are told?
Oh, that's a great question
Mhm.
because digital is. At first, I was just so because emotionally, there's so many. I'm just saying distortion and odd harmonics and artifacts in analog that we've been hearing all the time, that we hear in the real world, that digital was just took audio and made it zeros and ones,
Right.
it made it digital. And
Mm.
the first digital that, well, let's face it, when you got CDs, did you hear the difference between vinyl and CDs? First CDs were horrible until they just kept developing it and
Mm.
making it like sampling rates much higher, adding a lot of different things, mimicking and mimicking analog gear into plugins and things like that to warm up the sound to make it more pleasant and realistic for our ears because it was way too digital, it was way too thin and just what
Mm.
didn't move you. And now I have to say digital has come a long, long way,
Mm.
and but for me as a sound engineer, you see what happened was because I was doing the music of Angela Weber, there was this brilliant man who now lives in Wales. From all those shows he designed, God bless him. He used the best. analog console in the world that was English. It was called a Cadac. I don't mind saying it because it's now made from another country, and they changed things a bit. China, anyway. But it was made in London, and it was just like the most beautiful sounding thing in the world. Whatever you mixed just sounded so full and lush, and you had so much control of the sound. Like I'm saying, you actually mixed the show, but I'm saying I made love to a Cadillac. I love the Cadillac was just a whole different experience, and we all mixed, us Broadway guys mixed on Cadillacs. And then when digital came out, it was just like, are you crazy? But then certain companies, I don't know if I'm allowed to say them, because the first one was Yamaha, and it came out with a PM1D. But to tell you the truth, for the time when you look back at it, it was fine. It needed different microphone preamps to bring that, as I say, analog distortion in. You would get these mic preamps, but you could do so much. It was easier to do the housekeeping of, let's say, you're doing a whole orchestra, because now everything's in front of you and you can snapshot everything and hit a cue, and all of a sudden the reverb would change. The mood, everything would change according to what you were doing. Much easier. And also, a Cadillac would actually take up the last row of a theater. You know how much money that is?
Wow. Yeah.
Digital consoles,
Yeah.
are just are one
Right. Like a
fifth the size.
microchip or something.
Yeah, exactly.
What,
So
what,
that's where the producers wanted digital. And
what is, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to take us in a new direction, but what is immersive audio in your view, and how could it be applied to a film like TJ's War, especially during like battle scenes or emotionally intense moments?
Um, because it's all around you. It's basically it's basically taking the way we hear in the world and trying to replicate that. I mean, because to me, mono was a language, and then all of a sudden,
Hmm.
when we were kids, they had RCA because it was down the block in New Jersey. Come in and go, this is stereo,
Oh, yeah.
and you had left, right, and
Hmm.
we're still. And I'm sorry, there's people that are going to hate me because I'm actually developing a new piece of gear kit that really to me is the new stereo, because what happens with stereo is you have left, right. There are people that spend, literally, I've seen $1 million systems, but what happens is, through these chips my lovely Australian mates have made, it actually splits it up and makes it around your head, takes a stereo recording. And because in stereo, and everybody can agree, and I'm sorry, all the engineers know, you're compressing, you're squishing everything in the left, right, to
Hmm.
say it in layman's terms. You're just doing so much processing that, where it can sound phenomenal, but if you split that out, it's like the ear becomes much more it loves hearing things from 360 degrees, and that's what immersive
Yeah.
audio does, and
Yeah.
and
That's
then
awesome.
what happens is, with the device I'm working with from Involve Audio in Australia, you take a stereo recording you've listened to for 30, 40 years, and I just played it for some Dolby Atmos engineers, and they just go, wait, I just heard a guitar part I've never heard, and I've listened to this song for 35 years. I've
Right.
just heard, and it'll be coming from house rear, that speaker only.
Yeah.
So basically, this is quadraphonic, but it's really four quadrants, but it's making the whole room the speaker.
I
So
I
it's not
love
just
that.
that, it's making the whole room the speaker. And in
Yeah.
film, Dolby Atmos went to the hilt, everything in Dolby Atmos. And when you play Dolby Atmos for our stuff, that's when I say it sounds amazing. And everybody
Yeah.
goes, but with Dolby Atmos you need heaps of speakers.
Yeah.
It's good for
We
all the manufacturers.
To find out more about the book, visit tjswar.com. And to buy it, click on the Amazon link below. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series.